You are listening to the Keep the Weight Off podcast with Dr. Angela, episode number 8.
Welcome to the Keep the Weight Off podcast, where we bust all the dieting myths and discover not just how to lose weight, but more importantly, how to keep it off. We go way beyond the food, and we use science and psychology to give you strategies that work. And now your host, Dr. Angela Zechmann.
Well, hello, friends, and welcome back to the podcast today. I'm Dr. Angela, and Marchelle is here as well. Say hi, Marchelle.
Hi, I'm Marchelle, and we're thrilled to have you here today.
We are, yes. So, today I wanted to have Marchelle explain to everyone what her sugar detox was like. She talked a little bit about her struggles with sugar in podcast episode number 4. So if you haven't listened to that one, after you're done with this one, go back and listen to podcast episode 4 because it's super interesting. But today, what I wanted to talk about was very specifically what it was like for her to actually get off sugar, because it was a bit of a process. And so I want you all to know what that's like in case you have not been through that before. It's one of the things that's going to be important if you really want to live in a healthy body, is getting your brain and your body off this toxic stuff. So, Marchelle, tell me what was going on in your mind when you made that decision to give up sugar, because it's a huge decision. It actually took me decades to make that decision. And what made you decide to do it? Because you just came to me one day and you said, I really think I want to get off this stuff. What was your impetus?
Yes, I would have to say that it was a huge decision for me.
Yeah.
Looking back on my life at that time, it was right around when the lockdown happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of stress was building up, and the more stressful that I felt, the more I wanted sugar. And so I do remember, of course, going back to the coffee situation, the coffee and the creamer situation. I think that was like probably the final straw for me, because when my husband would go to Costco, I would not care, like I said, about the toilet paper. All I wanted was the coffee creamer. And we had so many stored away. And I think that that's kind of when I realized that I was addicted to it. And also just working with Dr. Angela, I just became more aware of the damage that it was doing to my body. And I was feeling like crap. My knees were hurting. I had headaches. I just all around did not feel good, and I wanted to make a change. So that's what led me to the decision to come and talk with you about it.
I think if I remember correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, we had gotten some blood work back on you too. And it looked like your blood sugars were starting to go up a little bit. Am I right?
Oh, they were. Yes. So I think that I was at 5.7 on my
Maybe.
A1C. So that was a little scary for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was,
5.7,
like I said, there was a whole lot of it that made me aware that I was having problems, and that it was definitely sugar related. I've been addicted to sugar for a very, very long time anyway. So,
Yeah.
I just hadn't been aware of the total damage that it was doing, and I'm not getting any younger. So
Mhm.
that was another thing, is I figured it was really time to make a change.
Yeah. And you felt like you had the emotional strength to be able to get through the withdrawal too. You had to have felt that.
I
Because
wasn't so worried, I don't think, about the withdrawal. I think I was just more worried about whether or not I could do it. Um, I didn't know if I could, and that's why I waited so long to do it, is because, like I said, that the coffee and the creamer was the one thing that I did not want to give up. I could give up other stuff, because I have a lot of accountability working at the clinic, all week long I'm there. But then when I started, hiding my coffee creamer in mason jars and sticking them in the back of the refrigerator so that you wouldn't see them. I knew like that I had sneaky behavior, and I just felt guilty about that. And it just made me aware that it was a real problem. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so that was, that was a major reason why I
Yeah.
decided that I better do something about it.
So for our listeners, Marchelle comes up to me and she's got the 5-day sugar detox menu in her hand. And she's like, Angela, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get off sugar. And so I always recommend like a 3-step process. So I'm always like, well, okay, the first thing you got to do is you got to set a quit date. And then you got to
Mm.
prepare for your withdrawal. And I always say, set your quit date. Like if you've got a big presentation coming up, or if you're a bridesmaid in somebody's wedding, or, like you got to be on. Don't be expecting yourself to be in sugar withdrawal while you need to be on. Like you have to set your quit date with your life in mind. So you want to make sure that you've got a period of time where you can be sort of dragged out and cranky and irritable and tired and have headaches and just be able to take really good care of yourself. You don't want to have to be on when you set your quit date. And then the second step is to get all the crap food out of the house. So like you don't want to
remember
have
doing that with you.
yeah.
I
Well, you don't want to
definitely
have
needed
stuff
help with
around
that.
the house. What?
I
Say that again.
definitely needed help with that.
Yeah, yeah. So we did that, and then the third step is to have that meal plan. So you had the 5-day sugar detox menu, and so you worked on that. But you decided so you asked me to come out to your house, and her husband had just been to the grocery store and had bought a bunch of food. And you asked me to come out to your house and go through your cabinets and your refrigerator and your freezer and just tell you what needs to go and what can stay. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, what is Rich and Austin, her son, like, what are they
Mhm.
going to think when Marchelle's boss walks into her house and starts throwing out stuff that they spent their hard-earned money on, you know? So how did you explain that to your family?
Well, I had been talking with them for quite a while about, the crap that we were eating. So
Mhm.
just working with you, I always had like this underlying guilt of the fact that I was supporting people that were doing the program, and they were successful and sometimes struggling, and yet I would go home and I wasn't living the same kind of lifestyle, and that just always gave me this guilt, and I just
Mhm.
kind of kept it to myself.
Mhm.
But I knew that, because I would come home and I would tell Austin, I would tell Rich, we can't be eating like this forever. This is going to lead to something bad. I told my husband that, um, if he gets diabetes, I'm not going to stick around to take care of him because he did
Oh.
it to himself. And I would say very negative things about it because I would hear all the information from you at work, and then I would come home and I'd say, we can't do this anymore. We can't eat like this anymore. This is so horrible. We've got to quit the fast food. We've got to quit this and that. And and in his mind, he knew that that was the right thing to do. But then on Friday night when we wanted to have pizza night, we'd be right back at it. So
Mhm.
when I finally decided to get serious, I came home and I talked with him and I said, we really have to be on board together, because if we're not, then I feel like I'm not going to be able to do this and I'm going to fail because there's going to be too many temptations when I'm in a weak place. And
Mhm.
so he said that he was on board, and
Mhm.
I didn't really talk to him that much about you coming out, to clean the cupboards out. I sort of told him that like the same day, like, oh, and by the way, Angela's going to come up and help clean out the cupboard. So it didn't give him really any time to make excuses or, decide that he didn't want to be here when it happened, because I just wanted him to see, because I knew that you would be able to explain, um,
Mm.
why these foods were bad. Because
Mhm.
just telling somebody they're bad, he knew they're bad. We all know that they're bad for you. But to put it in a way, a scientific way, I think it helped him and Austin to understand more
Mhm.
about why we were doing what we were doing. And he wasn't very happy about the fact that he had just gone grocery shopping and we were going to be throwing away perfectly good food.
Mhm.
So I know that you noticed that once you got up and we started cleaning out the cupboards, because as we were putting stuff in boxes to throw away, I noticed that he was grabbing the boxes and putting them out in the garage. and and I knew they were going to be sitting out there, and I knew that was going to be a slippery slope, but I also didn't
Mhm.
want to push him over the edge. So
Mhm.
I thought that was kind of funny because they were supposed to be going to the garbage can, and he
Mhm.
was putting them out in the corner of the garage.
So what you decided to do, the way you decided to do this was to get off the coffee and the creamer first and not do the full sugar detox in the beginning. So I'd like
Right.
to know a little bit about what made you decide to do it that way as opposed to just getting rid of all of it.
Because that was the one thing that was keeping me from doing the program from the very start.
Mhm.
And yeah, it was just the very worst thing that I was doing was the
Mhm.
coffee creamer, and I knew that that's where my true addiction was at, and so
Mhm.
I figured that if I just took it, one step at a time, and like I say, everybody's unique in the way that they do this, and
Yeah.
you really have to just plan a personal strategy. And
Yeah.
so once I found out about the 5-day sugar and flour detox menu, then I knew I had that because
Mm.
it just laid it right out for me. I knew I would be able to just follow through with that. But I didn't know how I was going to react to quitting the creamer because I also decided to quit coffee at the same time because I didn't like coffee without creamer. And so I knew that I would be coming off of the caffeine as well. So I just needed to get a handle on that and see if I could do it. So you and I talked, and we decided that I would get rid of that for a week and
Yeah.
see if I could do it, and then go into the rest of the 5-day flour and sugar menu,
Mhm.
and that worked for me. And it
Mhm.
was actually not as hard as I thought it was going to be. I think it was because we had set a quit date, and I
Mm.
got mentally prepared for it,
Mhm.
and then I just did it. And
Mhm.
I didn't have really any withdrawals from it. Um, there's a few times when I would get up, in the morning time, and it's sort of just like an automatic habit to go down and make the coffee. It's like a morning ritual. So
Yeah.
I did have a little bit of a problem with, having to change um, my morning habits.
Mhm.
So instead, what I did was if I started feeling that urge in the morning, I would just make a cup of herbal tea.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to tell anybody it's the same because it's not the same, but it, I had something warm in my hand, and it sort of still felt like, I was getting that fresh, morning cup of joe, but I just
Mhm.
replaced it with something else.
Yeah.
And I did it. It worked.
Yeah. Cool.
And I was very proud of myself that I could do it because I really did not think that I could, but I did.
Yeah, you did.
And
And my
I don't
recollection,
even drink caffeine at all now.
yeah, that's so
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
My recollection is that you did fine for like 3 days, and then because I think if I remember correctly, you had quit on a Tuesday
Hmm.
and or maybe a Wednesday, something like that, and you were fine. I remember expecting you to be like a crabby wench
Hmm.
on Wednesday and Thursday, and you were fine. And then it like this intense fatigue hit you on Friday. And then, so that would have been like day 3 or 4. And then
Hmm.
over the weekend, you were going to go do your grocery shopping, and you're like, no, I'm not going anywhere.
I
Caffeine,
actually
yeah.
don't remember that. It's like my memory was it was, you know, all rainbows and happiness, but I just did it, and it was perfectly fine.
Oh, nope. 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 Cause you were sending me videos every now and then, like of how things were
Yeah.
going.
Yep.
And on Friday, you did a video and you were at the office and you were just like, "Oh my God, I am so tired. I just want to go home and go to bed. I'm exhausted." And then on
Oh.
Saturday, you sent a video and you said, I am just so crabby. I am really crabby. I was going to go to the grocery store and I just can't even do it. And then on Sunday, you actually did go to the grocery store. You felt better by Sunday.
And
So it was like
that's when I bought all my groceries for the 5-day
Mhm. Yeah.
menu. Yeah. Okay. I don't
Yeah.
really remember that.
Yeah. I
Hmm.
do. Yeah. Yep. So that's good. You didn't remember the pain.
Yeah, I know, right? So it's been a while. I mean, I have a way of doing that. You know,
Yeah.
I can forget bad things.
Oh.
So yeah, I just don't remember struggling on it for side. And what I mostly remember, it was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. Yay.
Yeah,
Yeah. I think.
and Rich and my husband was still drinking coffee every morning with his creamer. Like it was still there. I could have
Mm-hmm.
had it.
Mm-hmm.
And after like the first week, I could actually go down and make, his pot of coffee for him. And, you know, he put a little splash of creamer, not nearly as much as I ever drank. And I would
Mm-hmm.
bring it up to him in the morning to wake him up. And I didn't have a problem with that. So it just got easier and easier and easier for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so I didn't remember feeling like that. And so then we go into the 5-day menu
Detox
and
menu.
the
Yeah.
groceries and, getting
Uh-huh.
everything prepped.
Yeah.
And that was not as easy as I thought it was gonna be because I usually don't cook. I just would always eat out,
Yeah.
and that meant, like, putting a lot of time into cooking and
Mm-hmm.
prepping and,
Mm-hmm.
cleaning up, and
Yeah.
especially because I started making those egg frittatas. And so
Yeah.
you make like a whole week's worth, and then
Yeah.
you just saran wrap them, and pop them in the refrigerator. And that was pretty cool because, the whole week's worth of breakfasts were made. And I did time it only takes an hour out of your time from start to finish to make
Yeah.
those. But it
Yeah.
was still an effort of cooking. And I just had to get past, the, I guess, just laziness of not wanting to ever cook. So
Mm-hmm.
that turned out to be a little bit easier than I thought. But it's just time consuming and it's structured, and
Mm-hmm.
you have to be thinking about what you're going to do ahead of time so that if you don't have the right stuff to eat, you're probably going to eat the wrong stuff if you're tired. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's one of my experiences, was just trying to get structured, and it was just a huge change for all of us. And there were some of the meals in there, that I didn't use. One of them was like the shrimp zoodles night. I
Yeah.
just replaced that with with chicken and vegetables, and I made
Uh-huh.
enough that would go in my salad the next day.
Yeah.
Another thing that it was a huge issue for me was I love to snack, and I usually used to just live on snacking all day long, and that
Mm-hmm.
was not included in the 5-day menu. And I was like, but wait a minute, when do I get my morning snack and when do I get my afternoon snack? And that just was not in there, and that was a huge challenge for me.
Yeah. Well, what kinds of things were you snacking on?
Oh man, and before,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, um, chips,
Uh-huh.
nuts,
Uh-huh.
uh, I do just any cheese.
Pretzel.
Yeah. Well, okay, okay. So you want the real truth? So yes. So
Pretzels.
yeah. So pretzels are my favorite.
Yeah.
I learned very quickly that they are super high in carbs,
Yes.
and that was yeah. It was I did not realize how bad they were for me, but I always craved pretzels. I think it might have been the salt. Um,
It's
just
the flour.
anything, yeah,
It's the
anything I could get
flour,
my hand.
Marcel.
It was
Flour is
yeah.
just like sugar as far as your brain is concerned. Yeah.
Yep, even to this day, I still struggle with not eating pretzels.
Mhm.
Um, but just anything like that, like chips, pretzels, um, cookies, just anything that I could snack on. I just like to snack on stuff because
Mhm.
I think maybe it might be out of boredom. But then
Mhm.
now that I'm learning so much more about the science of all this, it
Yeah.
is simply wanting a dopamine hit.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
brain loves that.
Yeah.
So
Everybody's brain does.
yes, so when I did the 5-day menu, there is, there's a place where you can have like a very small amount of nuts.
Mm-hmm.
But with me, if I start eating nuts, I will eat the whole can.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
can eat the whole can. So I had to be pretty structured about measuring out how
I
many
have
was
to
allowed.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, but
I
I
always
still,
have to measure my nuts. Like because I'll just eat and eat and eat. So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, nuts are a hard one for me because I just can't eat one. Um, but yeah, so that was a thing that I noticed that there were no snacks.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was an issue for me. But it's hard kind of to remember back because it's been a while.
Yeah.
Um, but there were a lot of things that happened. There was, by day 3, first couple days, I was like super motivated, and
Mm-hmm.
then by day 3 is when I started becoming resentful. And
Oh.
I I don't know why I did that. I just woke up on the 3rd day and I started saying, like, why do I have to do this? What did I sign myself up for?
Mm-hmm.
Am I never going to be able to eat macaroni and cheese again or spaghetti? Like, how would anybody expect me not to eat that ever again? Or what about birthday cakes? What am I going to do for a birthday party if we
Yeah.
can't have birthday cake? And so some of the realizations of these changes started to come into my mind, and I kind of wanted to give up.
Mm.
And I was in a weak moment. I think that was another time that I talked to you, and we decided that I should probably avoid the store
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah.
I probably would have made some bad decisions. Um,
Yeah. Like staying out of temptation when you're feeling like that is so important. Like don't put yourself in that situation where you could easily go down the candy aisle or into the bakery and grab donuts or whatever when you're feeling weak. And that's the
yeah,
time where it's just so hard sometimes. So
it is so hard sometimes, and I know I've said this in the past that when I was feeling weak, also, I would have to take a different route home because my
Mm,
usual route, I drove right past Twister's Donuts, and
mm.
they have a drive-through. So they make it
Oh,
extremely easy,
they're
and
evil.
that's a huge weakness of mine. I know a lot of people, are addicted to chocolate. I do love chocolate, but donuts are my thing.
Yeah.
And so, there are times that I have to take a different route. There's times when I have to call my husband up right when I get off work and say, okay, you got to talk me out of this because I'm headed to Twister's. And, if I want one donut, it's just a better deal to buy 12 of them. So he'll stay
Yeah.
on the phone with me and
Oh.
talk me out of it. So
Oh, what a guy. Oh
yeah,
man.
I know.
Mhm.
So, there's this, I'm really happy that I did it. I'm not going to say that it's perfect for me. There are
Mm,
times that I slip, and when I slip up, I notice that I get a headache or feel lethargic.
mhm.
Um, then the taste is so strong. It was like the volume is turned up because I hadn't had it in a while
Yeah.
and wasn't used to it, and it was just gross. And
Yeah.
also, like, the cravings would come back,
Yeah.
and that's how I realized how addictive it was for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's a couple of things that happen to you that I want to point out because they happen in everybody's brain when they're going through this process. One of the things that I remember happening to you is you did a weigh in on the body composition scale. And we
Mm.
discovered that after a week, you were down 2 pounds of fat. And then do you remember what your brain did? Your brain said, oh, I know how to lose weight now. I know how to lose fat now. I can go have a donut because now I know how to get the fat off. Do you remember that?
Oh, yes, and I play those kind of mental games with myself all the time,
It's like
trying to see what I can get away with.
that. So
Um,
that dopamine center in the brain is
mhm.
always looking for any excuse to get a hit. And so, oh, I did great. I can go have this now. I know what to do to get it off. That was one time. There was another time where your son was having some he was having some issues and you guys wanted to make him a special meal. And there
Yeah.
were those macaroni and cheese boxes that were out in the out in the
And
garage.
wasn't that during my 5 day?
Yeah, that was during the 5-day detox. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So, yep. So whenever he is having a bad day or he's, dealing with some struggles, Rich and I would always make him his favorite macaroni and cheese.
uh-huh.
And so that happened, yeah, that was like Wednesday or Thursday. And we made it for him.
Uh-huh.
And of course, I can't say no
Uh-huh.
to the family's homemade macaroni and cheese. And I tasted it, but it did not taste the same to me. And I asked my husband, I'm like, did you do something different with it? Because this doesn't taste right. He's like, no, I used it exactly. I did, made it exactly the way I always do. And I think that my taste buds were changing at that point because it just
Mhm.
tasted like pasty flour.
Mm.
It did not taste like it used to, and it wasn't satisfying. And I was a little bit, sad about that because it just didn't give me um, the pleasure that it used to.
Mm-hmm. And
So,
we hear this a lot from people, like foods that just taste different. Foods that I didn't used to like, I now love. I hear that a lot. And foods that I used to love, um, just taste terrible now. That happens a lot. So your taste
yeah,
buds change, you know?
that's like I said, it even happens to me now when I slip up,
Mhm.
um, and I eat something sweet. It tastes so strong because I haven't had it in a while, and it just tastes gross.
Mhm.
But the
Yeah.
problem with that is then it makes the cravings come back,
Mhm.
and then I
Yeah.
have to fight that.
Yeah.
So,
And then you sort of like you're craving stuff and it doesn't even taste all that good. You're like, what the heck's going
yeah,
on? My brain is so
yep.
weird. Oh,
It's because
yeah.
I'm addicted to sugar.
Yeah. Ugh. So you've slipped up a few times and you've been able to get back on track pretty quickly. Um, and I'm wondering, like, how have you done that? How have you not given up? What have you done?
Well,
Like, what's going on in your mind that keeps you from just giving up the ghost and saying, I guess I just can't do this when you slip?
because I think once you know this information, you can never unknow it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always in there. And also, I just tell myself that I'm never going to give up because it's a lifestyle change. It's
Mm-hmm.
not like a 3 month crash diet that
Yeah.
deprive yourself and then there's going to be an ending to it and then you can go back to doing whatever you were doing before.
Yeah.
So being a lifestyle change, there's going to be things that come up that are going to be challenging. And,
Mm-hmm.
I may make the right decision. Sometimes I haven't.
Mm-hmm.
For example, Christmas time, my mother's known for making 30 different kinds of cookies for the families, and
Mm-hmm.
I knew that was going to be coming up and I wasn't really sure how to handle it. Luckily, I accidentally left the platter at her house and I was almost home, and we live in Shelton, so I was too far away to turn back when she called me, and so I dodged that bullet. But um I just never give up. And one of the ways that I do that is I just try to break it down to making the next right meal.
Oh, that's so
I
good.
don't try to think it through, for the forever. I
Yeah.
just say, okay, how am I going to change this? The
Mm-hmm.
next time that I prep a meal and I make the right meal, that sort of like puts me back on the right track.
Yeah. That's so good. That is so good. What is my next right meal? That is like, guys, this is some of the best advice you're ever going to get when it
And
comes
then
to,
not
and
only that is, I think that I think accountability is so important, especially, just seeing our patients that
Mhm.
when they have had a bad month and they are feeling guilty and they know that, they're going to get on the scale and it's going to go up and then they always feel like they're going to disappoint you.
Mhm.
Um, I, I encourage them that that's the most important time to show up for your appointment, because
Mhm.
when they come to talk with you and they have questions and you can give them some feedback, they always walk out more motivated and they
Yeah.
feel so much better. and then
Yeah.
they get inspired again. So I think that accountability and like talking to somebody about what's going
Hmm.
on instead
Hmm.
of just isolating is
Yeah.
super important. And that's what I love about, the Sugar and Flour Buster Society, is
Hmm.
because you can reach out to other, when in between, their monthly appointments, they can
Hmm.
reach out to others and say, I've seen some incredible stories where people are so raw and vulnerable, but they put it out there about
Hmm.
what's going on with them. And
Hmm.
they get so much support and encouragement, and
Hmm.
people saying, I totally relate to that. That
Yeah.
happens to me too.
Yeah.
And I think that that helps in that way.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
there's a few things that I do, and I just encourage, just staying connected with other people,
Uh-huh.
and never giving up no matter what.
Yeah. We're going to do a podcast pretty soon here about the power of community in this.
Mm,
But for people who are listening who want to go through this process, like you're ready to take your health back, there's a few things you can do right now. And one of those things is to go to journeybeyondweightloss.com and sign up for the free course. And in the free course, I explain the science because Marchelle is talking a lot about the science of all of this. And so I explain in detail what the science is about sugar addiction and how you should manage this. But then I also have, if you want free community support, the Facebook group, and it's called Sugar and Flour Busters Society. If you're not already a member of that, just go into Sugar and Flour Busters Society on Facebook and request to be a member of that, and then you can get some help there. But then I also have an online course and membership, and this is for people who really want to do the deep dive work, because learning how to get off sugar, lose weight, keep it off requires a lot. To do it successfully, it requires a lot of work on how you think, how you approach your life, what kind of habits do you have? There's a lot of deeper work to be done. And so that is just an awesome, awesome membership to be in, because you'll get support from me every week. We have a call every week, and we're going through the material in the course, and we're really helping people just really learn some of these deeper, deeper skills that are so important. And I think, I think that's been one of the major keys for you as well, is working with me in Journey Beyond Weight Loss too.
right.
So
The more
yeah.
I learned, so that's why it was hard for me to go back and kind of remember where I was at, because I've
Yeah.
learned so much
Yeah.
since then
Hmm. Hmm.
that, like
I
I
mean, it's
said,
been a year now.
once you know this information, you never unknow it. So
Uh-huh.
learning the science, it made me realize that, like salt, sugar, fat, those are the
Mhm.
substances that give you the dopamine hits. That's why
Mhm.
we crave them. Because I would always say, why can't I just crave broccoli? Because it doesn't process in your body the same way. It
Yeah.
doesn't give you a dopamine hit, even though it's good for you. So
Yeah.
just have to be, I realize like I have to be so careful and ask myself ahead of time before I make some of my decisions, like, why am I doing? Because snacking, like I said, is one of my things that I want to do. And I got to ask myself, like, I'm not even hungry. Like, why do I want this? And I know
Mhm.
it's probably, it doesn't take, some kind of life event, or if I'm depressed or stressed out. Sometimes I just am doing fine and I just want to eat a salty snack or a sugary snack just because. And I know it's just because my brain wants that dopamine hit, that,
Yeah.
that pleasure. And so you can just learn so much more about the disease of obesity if you get on the Journey Beyond Weight Loss and go through the 12-week classes, and
Mhm.
be there for the support calls, because
Mhm.
right now I see so much success, and not just in weight loss, just in internal, emotions. I see people becoming happier, and it's just, yeah, total transformation from the inside out.
Mhm. Yeah. All right. Well, I think we should wrap it up. Are there any last minute thoughts that you have, Marshall, about what your journey has been like?
I just I take it day by day, and
Mhm.
I feel so much better. And I finally got my visceral fat down to 9. And
Yay!
that was so
Yeah.
huge for me. That's the number that I paid attention to the most, because
Yeah.
that's, the organ fat that gives you all of the, the inflammation and the
Mm-hmm.
diseases and all of the
Mm-hmm.
problems. And when I started with you, my visceral fat was at 20 or even more. And
Oh, yeah.
now I've worked super hard and finally got it down to 9, which 10 is, in the normal range.
Less than
And I'm
10 is
so,
normal. So yeah.
yeah, I'm so proud of that. That was like
Yeah.
one of my hugest goals. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah,
Oh,
so
I'm
this
so proud
works.
of
I
you
mean,
too.
didn't happen fast for me. I just
Mhm.
had to take it slow and steady and just be comfortable with being healthier and not
Mhm.
being obsessed over the scale and the pounds and the weight.
Mhm. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. All right, everybody. So, if you want to go through this process like Marchelle did, um, go over to journeybeyondweightloss.com and sign up for the free course, and that will get you started. And I'm super excited. Thank you so much for telling your story, Marchelle. And we'll
oh,
see you
you're
guys
welcome.
again next week in our next podcast. Talk to you then. Bye
All
bye.
right. Goodbye.
Hey, if you really want to lose weight and keep it off for good, your next step is to sign up for Dr. Angela's free weight loss course, where you're going to learn everything you need to get started on your weight loss journey the right way. Just head over to journeybeyondweightloss.com/free course to sign up. Also, it would be awesome if you could take a few moments and write a review on iTunes. Thanks, and we'll see you in Journey Beyond Weight Loss.